Greetings to everyone on the channel Real Facts, and in today's video, we have 5 of the most touching and incredible stories about kindness, loyalty, and love. This is a story about a girl named Sang Kwang Gun who was born in a very poor family and was involved in a crash at the age of 4, which resulted in her losing both her legs. Since her parents were very poor and had no money to buy her prosthesis, they decided to cut a basketball and put it under the small girl to make it easier for her to move. It is remarkable that the child who literally grew out of the basketball was not angry at the world. On the contrary, Sang has always been a cheerful girl and managed to preserve this feature throughout her life. Several times she came to her parents saying that everything would be okay and she would manage to take them out of this poverty. You have to agree that only a person with a light heart can think not only about herself but about her parents. While having no legs and sitting in a basketball, Sang went to school, was a diligent student, and top at basketball. It was not for anything that she lived in a basketball. Curiously enough, she managed to draw the attention of the coach of the Chinese Paralympic team, who later on recommended her to go into swimming, where she showed all her skills. After she became a member of the team, she began to participate in competitions and give numerous interviews and take part in various TV shows. She began to receive good money. The sponsors were very generous and gave her more than necessary. This always smiling Sang, as people called her later, used to say that maybe if it were not for her trauma from the accident, she would still be living with her family in the slums to this day and would have never gotten out of poverty. You have to agree that most people never find their real love. Some of them delude themselves, some take whatever turns up out of fear of staying alone, some prefer to be satisfied with a little, and it is enough for them just to sympathize with the partner in order to create a family. But our heroes found each other and lived in a happy marriage for 33 years. Winston and Janet were an inseparable couple. Their relatives, friends, and neighbors were shocked to see such a relationship. No one had ever heard them quarreling, much less any loud scandals shaking the walls. People asked them what was the secret of their family. Janet and Winston did not answer. They just smiled, saying that there was no secret and techniques. It's just an utter sincere love for each other. Everything was okay until a sudden death took Janet's life. Saying that it was hard for Winston to cope with the death of his wife is an understatement. Several weeks after her death, he went to their garden with a shovel and planted several oaks. He did the same thing the next day, and on the third one. He planted trees every day. His neighbors even thought that he went crazy out of despair and recommended him to go to the psychologist. But Winston replied to them with the same kind smile. For many years, he went out and planted oaks. People in his district thought he was really going crazy. It would have been okay if he planted 2 or 3 trees, but he planted hundreds and thousands of them. His relatives tried to understand what he was doing and asked him to stop, but he did not listen. And 20 years later, people finally understood why he was doing it and for whom. These photos speak for themselves. We can only imagine what he felt while planting each tree and what were his inner feelings during all these years. It is worth mentioning that inside of his heart, a wonderful narcissus, Janet's favorite flower, is growing. When the mass media asked Winston why he did all this, he just answered that she would see it from heaven. We wish everyone to find their real love. Be next to the person who will take care of you and love you even after you leave. And now you will hear a story about a small and old family from the Chinese village on the other side of the earth. This old man named Du Yonghua takes care of his helpless wife. You may say, and what is special about that? There are a lot of people in the world in the same or even worse situations, but if you listen to this story till the end, you will understand that such people as Du Yonghua are next to none. When Du was 28, he married 20-year-old Zhou. They lived together for less than 5 months when she came down with a terrible disease, resulting in her being confined to bed forever. Doctors offered no hope, saying that they did not know what exactly had happened to her and how to cure it. She could not move, hold any objects, or speak. In other words, her body just switched off, but her mind was still sound. What the thoughts were of this 20-year-old girl helplessly lying in bed was known only to her, and it is hard to imagine what she had to cope with. As for Du, he found himself in the situation you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. Everyone told him that he should take his wife to hospice and that doctors would take proper care of her because she would never have children and would not be able to do elementary things, and such a life would be a real nightmare. Du was only 28 and his relatives wanted him to find another woman, but his actions shocked everyone. As he tells in one of his interviews, he came close to his helpless young wife, bent over her and whispered in her ear, "Don't worry, I'll be taking care of you for all my life." Now seeing all these photos, we understand that he fulfilled his promise. He is 85 and his wife is 77. For 57 years, he has been devoting every day of his life to his wife. He left his job to always be with her. He could not leave for a long time because there was no one to look after her. Du organized a small garden to have something to eat. However, many years later, when this amazing love story of Du and Joe became popular, people from different corners of China began to come to them and help. Some of them gave money, some repaired their house and brought some food. All of these people somehow participated in this difficult and amazingly deep story, which I am sure will give you some ideas you would like to share in the comments, and we will be happy to hear from you. In February 2014, Gertie McKenna was diagnosed as having breast cancer. Then her 10 close friends got together and prepared a surprise for her. They decided to shave their heads also to support her. The women gave their hair for charity and allocated the earned money to an organization involved in research and treatment of oncological diseases in South Africa. Undoubtedly, it was a difficult challenge for them, but they really wanted to support their friend. After going to a hair salon, the women were waiting for Gertie in a cafe. After seeing her friends' heads, Gertie broke into tears. "You look great," she said. On the picture, you can see Gertie and her friends who performed this brave deed. Yet some people say that friendship between women does not exist. In conclusion, we will tell you a very touching story about a Chinese yard keeper, 56-year-old Zhou Yangzhu. He has been a yard keeper for all his life and swept the streets of Shenyang whether rain or shine. He has been working hard and making something extraordinary at the same time. But first things come first. First, he sold his small flat and moved to a rented one, leaving all his money to children who weren't able to pay for their studies. Zhou always wanted to leave a legacy and prove that his life was not in vain. Now he knew that he helped 5 children to pay for school and lived with peace of mind. Yet then he began to feel that his mission on earth was not over, that in spite of the fact that he was a yard keeper, he could help children further. Yes, it is very difficult and I have to save a lot, but I know why I am doing this and it gives me strength. Several years have passed after I got on this path and I have never regretted it. For 30 years, this man, earning $350 a month, gave $250 to children from poor families. Thus, all in all, he managed to pay for the studies of 37 children. Possibly these children do not even know who was helping them all this time, thanks to whom they managed to graduate from schools, and that somewhere in that godforsaken place, there lives an ordinary yard keeper who gave them a chance to live. Maybe they even saw him. Every day, Joe sweeps the streets of Shenyang as usual. Many people look out for him and do not want to look into his eyes. People usually treat such people as misfits when they've not achieved anything in their life. If only they knew that he is the man who saved the lives of 37 children, they would speak differently. This story really impressed us and helped us understand that sometimes our attitude to people can be biased, although we do not know the true kernel. Very often, people having the least do great things and share their last piece of bread. If you liked the video, subscribe to our new videos and share with your friends. You can also write interesting stories you know in the comments. We will be happy to read them. Thank you for watching us. Bye-bye.